Maxine was born in Missouri, and her mother died shortly after giving birth to her baby brother. And Maxine was sent to live with her aunt and uncle in Lamar, Colorado. She got to be 18, she wanted out and came up to Denver and trained as a nurse at St. Anthony's. She was trained by the nuns at St. Anthony's. And pretty shortly after graduating was shipped out to Guam as a Navy nurse and spent some time in San Diego, officers training, and then went out to Guam and served several years on Guam during the Pacific encounter. Met her husband there, came back to Colorado. And she had a long and illustrious career as a nurse. Many years later, her son and I married. By that time, she was retired. She was in very good health right up until her mid-90s. And then one day, out shopping with my husband, she tripped over a little bit of ripple in a rug that she didn't see and went down hard on a concrete floor and broke her hip. She came through the surgery great, and she went to rehab, had a tough time in rehab, but was determined to get home and to be independent. But it was on her admission to rehab that the most came forward.
I can tell you what I really like about our Colorado Most form is it summarizes the three key things, three key scenarios and decisions that I have been encouraging patients and their families to think about for decades.
The Most form is an opportunity for patients and their families to really make the most critical decisions regarding their health care and determine what ultimately is going to be their treatment and their quality of life.
The Most form allows a patient to have their wishes followed by the medical community, by their loved ones, by anyone who's involved in their care without argument or confusion.
Because she had had this whole long career in healthcare, she had seen all of the things that could go very, very well and the things that could go very, very badly. And she was very, very clear that she did not want any particular extraordinary measures at all.
I don't believe people are necessarily aware of the trauma and invasiveness of CPR. A lot of the images they have could be from movies and TV shows, which do not portray an accurate picture.
Why should someone have a discussion about their end-of-life care and specifically have a Most form? The key reason is that this is our best chance, our best tool to help reflect their preferences. And although many people have similar preferences, a number of people have very unique preferences. And it's only in the discussion when that individual is cognitively intact and not acutely ill and that they can express their wishes to their loved ones, their family, significant others, that's really their best chance to help lay out what they would like their future to look like with regard to end-of-life care.
Her self-containment was so amazing to see, and her clarity about what she wanted and how it was going to go forward. The Most was backup to that. I think she didn't need it, but everybody else did.
So some wonder if the Most is mandatory. The answer is no. The legislation was set up to say we ought to educate and can use it when it's appropriate, but it's not mandatory.
She understood exactly what she wanted, but having it documented and being able to say, here is the piece of paper that says what I want, was helpful to her and to all of them.
People often ask where should seniors who live at home, out in the community, keep their most forms, once they've completed them. The paramedics are typically going to look at the refrigerator.
First thing when I pull up on scene is I go inside and I check the patient's wrist, whether they have a bracelet or a pendant on. Then if they don't, I go to the fridge is my next step to see if there's anything hanging on the fridge that will provide that documentation and information for me. Emergency responders do have to honor a valid MOST. Those are your patient wishes, and that's how you would have to care for them as they wish to be.
If a senior or anyone is really serious about do not resuscitate, it's important for them to at least consider having a do not resuscitate bracelet or necklace.
So as clear as she was, and as clear as we were, having talked about it so many times, it was so valuable to have it actually on the form. It's a checklist. You can look at it and see immediately what it says. And it gave us a lot of confidence knowing that if she couldn't speak for herself, if something happened and we weren't there, the form would speak for her. And that was very reassuring.
One of the reasons that I like the MOST form so much is because as soon as it is given to me by paramedics or family or the patient themselves, I know immediately what is going to be an option for their care, even in very emergent circumstances.
She did okay at home for a while, but I think more than anything, it was the inactivity after this very robust and long life to then be on a walker and not really able to get out. She developed some congestive heart failure, and it was pretty clear that she needed to be in hospice care.
So the MOST form has incorporated a lot of different ideas and opinions and facts related to what is the best way for patients to make decisions regarding the end of life. And essentially remembering that a patient's dignity and respect for their wishes is always in the best interest of the patient and their healthcare providers and all who are involved with their care.
Those with the MOST form, those that have expressed preferences, documented them, and have given the family a chance to accept and plan for this, those final days seem to be much less chaotic, more peaceful, if you will, than those that never dealt with their advance directives or filled out a MOST form or really just kind of ignored that. In those cases, there's likely to be a lot more indecision, a lot more chaos, I would say a lot more aggressive treatment that would otherwise not have been preferred.
Recognize that on the MOST form, there are different options for treatment. However, it is important to understand that comfort care will always be provided to the patient.
So she was admitted to hospice at home. And then about 3 days later, I got a call. My husband by that time was out of town, and I got a call to say that, quote unquote, something's changing and we need to get her into the inpatient residence. That was on a Thursday, and she passed away Sunday night, that Sunday night.
MOST has really affected the way that I practice medicine by enabling me to have shared decision-making now with patients and families. It's very encouraging as a physician to know that I'm doing what specifically the patient wants and what the patient thinks is in their best interest.
Having the form, having the documentation was very, very valuable when we got out to the end of things. And I would just encourage everybody to take the time to think about this stuff before the crazy happens, before the crisis, before the emergency room visit. You can download the form, you can look it over. Don't necessarily have to fill it out right away, but just think about what the choices might be and what your decisions might be ahead of time.